Hey guys, welcome back to Greg's Fishroom. Today we are making the simplest DIY project to save your Pleco fry after they get kicked out of your Pleco cave. So come along with me and learn how to be a better aquarist. Alright guys, this happens to everyone. Your plecos laid eggs, and then 2 or 3 days later, the male pleco kicked those eggs out of the cave. They got evicted before they were born. So what do? How do you save those eggs? Well, there are a ton of different methods to save the eggs and hatch them out. I'm going to share with you probably the simplest and cheapest method for hatching those eggs successfully and keeping them in the same aquarium that they were in originally. So let's walk through all of the parts and pieces of this build, and then let's go ahead and build it. So essentially, the core component of this build is just a stainless steel tea strainer. These things are super cheap online. I'll leave a link down in the description below if you want to buy some of these. Usually they come in multi-packs. You want to get the cheapest ones possible, and there's actually a reason why. All of the stainless steel mesh is essentially the same, so you're not going to get a higher quality mesh or anything like that by spending more money. Usually the only thing you'd end up doing is getting a fancier handle, and in this case we're going to snap the handle off, so it doesn't matter. So the less you spend on one of these, the better, because we're about to wreck it. So we need a stainless steel tea strainer. They come in a few different sizes. It really doesn't matter which one you get. This one seems to be a good size here. Next up, what we're going to need is a piece of backer rod. This is a pretty small piece. In fact, it measures around 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Really, you don't need anything heavy duty. If you've got anything over an inch in diameter, it's probably overkill. So you can get this in big rolls. You don't need a whole lot of it. In this case, the piece here that we have is 11.5 inches long. So backer rod. Next up, we're going to need some sort of pliers. The bigger and the beefier, the better, I found. Gives you more leverage. You'll also need some scissors to cut your backer rod, and you'll need a hot glue gun. I think you can see where this is going. It's pretty simple. First up, what we're going to do is we'll take our pliers and we're going to snap off any of the pieces that are attached to the main part of this tea strainer. Usually what it has is a little top part here, and then it has the handle here. And it's just tack welded into place, and it's usually done pretty shoddy. So I don't know if you can hear, but it usually snaps pretty easily. If you just wiggle it back and forth a little bit, it usually snaps, and it snaps off pretty darn clean. So you can see the little tack weld spots there, no big deal. So once we have that off, we're going to do the same thing here with the handle. Sometimes this can be a little bit trickier to get off, but if you just wiggle it back and forth enough, you'll usually get this to pop right off as well. And if you're having trouble, you can get a second pair of pliers to make this go a little bit faster. There we go. I didn't end up needing the second pair of pliers. So that is what we're going to be left with. It is the tea strainer without any of the handle portions. Now, you may recognize a similar shape to this, which is either bathroom, like tub strainers, or sink strainers. They also make those in stainless steel that look very similar to this. Those also work. You don't have to go through the extra step of removing the handle in that case, but I find that they're actually more expensive than your tea strainers, so go figure. Anyways, now that we have this and we have our foam backer rod cut to size, we're going to go ahead and hot glue the backer rod into a circular shape. And essentially what we want to do here, and this is really important, is we want to make sure that we get this the correct length. And what we're looking for here is sort of a loose fit. And what I mean by that is we want this tea strainer to sort of not be too snug when it's sitting in this foam backer rod ring. Essentially, we don't want it to be able to fall through. We don't want it so large that it falls through, but we don't want it so tight that it's sort of riding up on the sides, because we want this stainless steel portion to be underwater, and this portion is going to float. So a nice loose fit is going to be best for this. And what I find works well is when you have a hot glue gun, I wait until it's sort of like starting to come up to temperature and the hot glue is starting to melt, and then I end up just unplugging it. I find that if your glue is way too hot, you're actually going to melt your foam, and you don't want to do that. You want your glue to be warm enough that it can go through the nozzle of the hot glue gun, but not so hot that it just sort of starts to evaporate the foam. That's not good. So once this cools down for a minute, we're going to go ahead and glue it up. And once we hot glue that into place, we're going to want to hold it nice and steady for at least a minute or two until it completely cools down. If you don't, it will open right back up and you'll have to do it all over again. All right, and once we successfully have our ring and we've tested that we have a nice loose fit there, we're done. This is the Pleco egg floating trap protector, whatever you want to call it. Let's go test it out in a tank and see how it does. All right, here we are at our aquarium, and as you can see, our little egg basket works swimmingly. We've got the little inflatable ring that is keeping this suspended, the lip of this suspended above the water, and then you can see there's plenty of water inside the little stainless steel basket to allow those eggs to be protected. Now, anytime you find eggs that have been kicked out by your male Pleco, you can just go ahead and transfer them into one of these egg baskets. And usually, as long as your tank is relatively clean, those eggs should hatch. Sometimes what I find is there might not be enough water flow, and you can get some fungusing going on. And so what I like to do for good measure is I add one cherry shrimp, really any type of Neo shrimp works well. I find sort of on the smaller to mid-size range works better. If they're too large, they might get a little aggressive with the eggs, but they tend to pick at any of the mold or growth that might be accumulating on the eggs without actually predating on the eggs. Sometimes those shrimp will escape, so if that happens, just go ahead and grab another one. No big deal. And sometimes you'll find the fish in the aquarium might be trying to bite at the eggs through the bottom of this basket. And if that happens, all you need to do is add a second screen below it, and then it has a double layer of protection, and those eggs should be just fine. Let's get a close-up on what this looks like.
All right, the lighting conditions are not great inside this tank, so it's kind of hard to get a good picture there, but we have a nice little clump of eggs. One little fry of some other fish species decided to jump in the basket as well. And then we have our cherry shrimp in there to help clean those eggs. That's what it looks like. It just floats around in the aquarium for a week, or however long it takes for those to hatch. What I like to do is I like to leave the fry in the basket until they're wiggling and their yolk sac is pretty much gone, at which point they'll be pretty good at protecting themselves. And then I usually just toss them into the mat of plant matter, and they're able to sort of escape and take care of themselves after that. But anyways, I've had great success at using this method. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, super low cost. So if you have plecos, especially bristlenose plecos that you're trying to breed, and they're kicking their eggs out quite a lot, this is the way to go. Now, you're not always going to be successful. Sometimes the reason the male is kicking the eggs out is because they are not fertilized eggs. And if that happens, they will always fungus and break down, and they will not hatch. So that is always a possibility, but it doesn't always happen. Lots of times the eggs end up being just fine, and the male was just hungry, and so he abandoned the eggs to go find a snack. So in that case, you can hatch out hundreds and hundreds of more babies and protect those eggs by using a floating fry basket or egg basket just like this. I keep 1 or 2 of those in every single one of my Pleco tanks, and they work great. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, please give it a like, please subscribe, but also please check out Nature Forged Aquatics on Amazon. You can check out products like this, the Nature Forged Aquatics alder cones, which is a great product to add to your blackwater tanks, to your shrimp tanks, to your soft water aquariums. Provides natural tannins, allows you to naturally and slowly drop the pH in your aquariums. It's a great product. This is a 4-ounce bag. It has tons of cones in it. It will last you a very long time. It also helps support this channel because Nature Forged Aquatics is my brand. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later.